Hello, everybody, and welcome to the chair with James. Going to do a preview of the 2021 MLB season. Baseball is back, and spring training is wrapping up as we speak. Um, it definitely was an interesting off season with moves and signings, and I'll get through them as the teams go along. But um, I do have to say, okay, the Dodgers finally won after 8 straight years of winning the division in the West, and they came back from 3-1 over the Braves and defeat the Rays in the makeshift World Series that was in Texas. It was a weird season, with the pandemic going on, which is still kind of going on. Somehow cases are down, so fans are being allowed back in for this season. Couple teams, Missouri's, Kansas City Royals, at least that I know, and the Astros and the Rangers in Texas will allow 100% capacity. So we'll see what fans make it out and what fans won't. But other teams for this season have limited capacity to start off. The Toronto Blue Jays still are playing in their spring training home and we're going to remain there. Last year they were in Buffalo, New York, and now they're going to do the smart thing and just stay in their spring training home to start the season at least for the first two homestands. So that's about a month or so stuck in Florida at their spring training home, but it's just Canada's not open yet, so everybody's just trying to do the best with what they have. And Toronto, as we'll talk about them, they have a really good team when you think about it. But one thing I'll say before we get through the divisions and the teams and the predictions, this might be the last season for the MLB to be in action for the foreseeable future. There is a predictable work stoppage that will happen after this season is played. There's not much faith going around that the players and the owners will have a done deal with the league to continue on as they fight each other for everything. I mean, we barely got 60 games out of last season when the players and the owners are finally agreeing, but it took forever after a stoppage. But we're bound to have another stoppage. So after this season, I don't know when baseball will be back, but it won't be on time. I guarantee that for 2022. There'll probably be, some months missing and something where we won't have the schedule back that we do now. The schedule and the playoff format is back to the old way this year. If you remember, last year 8 teams from each league got in. That won't be the case this year. It'll be back to 2 wild cards and the 3 divisional winners in both leagues. And so let's start off with the AL East now. I think I want to do with the teams first, and then give the prediction out for the for how the division's gonna go. I see Baltimore in last place. Trey Mancini. It was great that he came back and defeated cancer, and he stepped into the batter's box there in spring training. That was a great moment there. They ended up the Orioles ended up getting Felix Hernandez, long time Mariner, Freddie Galvis, Malik Franco, both were former Phils, Matt Harvey. But there's a lot of youth. There's a lot of players that you'll need a program for Brandon Hyde's team. They might have the worst record in the league, but Detroit and Pittsburgh will probably fight for that, I guess you could say. So I think Baltimore will be definitely in last place. I think Boston will be in fourth. Alex Cora came back as a manager, scarred from the Houston debacle. And it didn't seem like they did much to improve the team. They're kind of cash strapped, and they did sign Kike Hernandez and Garrett Richards, and they traded for Hunter Renfroe. I was shocked that the Rays gave him up, but maybe they got something back, I guess, good enough to trade him. Frenchie Cadero's injured. I thought he would be good for them. They got Marwin Gonzalez, but they're just missing some key guys. Nathan Eovaldi is probably the lone ace on that Red Sox staff, but that's about it. So I think they're going to be in fourth. And then I know the Yankees will probably be in first. They were able to re-sign DJ LeMahieu. They have a real young core that's really good. Brought back Brett Gardner, added Jameson Telon from the Pirates. It seems like the Pirates just gave up on everybody pretty much. It seems like the Yankees and Corey Kluber came over, but Corey's pretty injured and he's just trying to come back. So they still have Garrett Cole and Chapman closing the games. I still think that the division runs through the Yankees. And then second place between Tampa and Toronto. It seems like Tampa, they made some trades. First, trading Blake Snell away, and remember how he left the Rays. The last time you saw him, he was getting pulled out of a World Series game that he didn't want to leave. But Kevin Cash made that decision, and then the management traded Snell to the Padres for Francisco Mejia, and Luis Patino. He's one of the best Padre prospects pitching wise. So that was a big move for the Rays, but a big move for the Padres, especially getting Blake Snell. But this team definitely overachieved last year, and they're looking to do more, probably with less. Still have Kittemeyer, Rosarina, Margot, Austin Meadows, and their pitching is pretty good. They brought back an old Ray, Chris Archer, Tyler Glasnow, and Rich Hill there as well. So they'll be close to that wild card, I think. And then Toronto's pretty young. I'll probably put Toronto third, and then the Rays second. Picked up Francisco Liriano, Tyler Chatwood. Pitching wise, they have a pretty good staff with Ryu and Ross Stripling, the former Dodgers. Kirby Yates could come out of the bullpen and have a surprise year if he comes back really well. They added George Springer via free agency on a big contract. I didn't see that coming, but it makes the Rays lineup already dangerous, along with the speedsters they have in that lineup. They also added Marcus Semien from the A's. I know a lot of people from the A's were mad that they couldn't get him back, the fans there. So that really sucked for them. With the A's, they're stacked. They got Biggio, Bichette, Guerrero. That sounds like a 90s lineup. But it's all their kids of those fathers playing. So they have a very packed lineup there, so that would be fun to see. The Central, I think the division runs through Chicago or Minnesota. That would be a tight race. Cleveland, it just seems like they traded all their people that are worth something away, and now they're stuck with whoever they have left, and it's a bunch of young players. The holdover is Jose Ramirez, the third baseman, and he'll probably be traded away this season, I'm guessing, the way that the Cleveland team does. So Kansas City's, still young, even though they signed Perez to a 4-year deal. They added a few pieces, but I think they're still building. And Detroit, they're in a whole rebuild, and I think they'll be stuck in last place for sure. For the White Sox, it seems like they got even better from last year. Remember, they made the playoffs for the first time, I think, since 2005. 2008 maybe, or 10. Jose Abreu, I think, was the MVP, so he's a great player there. Had a new contract with him. Tim Anderson is a shortstop there. And Johan Mancana, great player. That's all in the infield, too, right there. So Adam Eaton came back to the south side with the White Sox. You got Lurie Garcia, Eloy Jimenez, and Luis Robert. He's really good outfield there, too. And then the pitching staff, you got Carlos Rondon, Lance Lynn came over, Keuchel, Liam Hendricks closing out games, Luis Giotto. So they have Dylan Cease. They have a great ball club there, I believe. Jonathan LaCroix is one of the catchers there. Yasmani Grandal, definitely a power hitter. And the funny thing, Tony La Russa is back with the White Sox after, he was the manager of the White Sox 30 years ago. No, I'm sorry. It'd be 40 years ago, pretty much, almost, when they won the the American League West back in '83. Tony La Russa was the manager there. So it's just funny how the White Sox hired him back after all these years, and he didn't manage for a good decade. Remember, he was with the Cardinals, and then he retired after that World Series win. So it's very awkward, but unorthodox move, but they did it. So the Twins, I think, will be in second, managed by Rocco Baldelli, the former Devil Ray and Ray. You look at the pitching staff. Jose Barreros is their ace. Alex Colom, J.A. Happ, Kenta Maeda, Michael Pineda. If he can find his old ways back, you got to steal with Pineda. Hansel Robles comes out of the bullpen. Matt Shoemaker is a pretty good starter. On the offense, you still got Nelson Cruz as the best probably DH in the league. In the outfield, you got Max Kepler and Brian Buxton. So they got to find another outfielder out of the others they have to fill out the other one. In the offseason, they picked up Andrelton Simmons from the Angels. They still have Josh Donaldson at third, Jorge Polanco. Catching, you got Williams Astulo. He's a very fun guy. I love watching his little antics out there. Okay, so when we go to Cleveland, it's just it's pretty mind-boggling just the way that they were set up this year. Terry Francona, of course, still the manager. They traded away Francisco Lindor to the Mets. They got a little haul there that they're hoping that will, be good. The main guy was Andres Jimenez, the infielder that's supposed to be really good, but maybe not just right away. So we'll see what happens. They also made a trade with the Padres, they got Logan Allen. He's supposed to be an upcomer. Shane Bieber's the Cy Young candidate every year. Phil Maton out of the bullpen. Oliver Perez still going at 39 years of age. Zach Plesac, pretty good starter. DH you got from Mil Reyes. Bradley Zimmer in the outfield with Eddie Rosario. He came over somewhere else. Josh Naylor was one of those trades from the Padres. Luplo, Ben Gamble coming over. And again, Jose Ramirez probably get traded sometime this season. They're going pretty young there. You got Austin Hedges and Roberto Perez as the catchers, but a lot of decisions to be made on this young group there. Kansas City, like I said, would probably be fourth, managed by Mike Matheny. Again, Salvador Perez staying put. Alex Gordon retiring after a pretty solid career after probably a slow start. But after that, it's a lot of young guys. Mondesi. They did bring in Carlos Santana to play first. Via trade, they got Andrew Benintendi from the Red Sox. I didn't see that coming. Jared Dyson with Merrifield is their all-star from last year. Jorge Soler's a pretty good power hitter, but he can't hit the off-speed stuff with curves or sliders. Michael A. Taylor coming over. He was a former Nat and Oriole coming up to play the outfield there. Pitching-wise, Mike Minor's there. Junes. Greg Holland came back from the World Series days. Danny Duffy. Wade Davis, which just made the team. There was a lot of people that didn't think he would come back to make the team, but he did. Detroit, I see in last place with A.J. Hinch, the manager. He came back from the Astros scandal as he was the manager when they were doing the cheating. And somehow he was able to get a manager job just like that. I don't know, but that's how things go, I guess. So with the Tigers, they got Wilson Ramos catching. You still got Miguel Cabrera with his long contract, but it's almost over. Jonathan Scope going from the Orioles to the Tigers. Robbie Grossman, Jacoby Jones, Nomar Mazara. He might be in trade talks when it all comes up. Julio Teheran came over from the Angels after a poor year. Michael Fulmer's that ace that they have on the Tigers. Buck Farmer. Well, that's pretty much it. So there's not a lot of talent there with the Detroit Tigers, and they're definitely probably going to be in last place. So I got Chicago, Minnesota, Cleveland, Kansas City, and Detroit City running out the Central. For the American League West, this is definitely going to be a close race. It would probably be the first to 90 wins the division. And I can see 3 out of the 5 teams doing it. A lot of people still have Houston as the division winner. One of the wild card spots could definitely come out of this division, or maybe even 2. Depends on how Oakland and the Angels play. Seattle's still, I think, building, but they're building really fast and really well. If they could get some big boppers in their lineup, somehow, some way, they could be a force. Because right now they got a lot of speed, got some pretty good hitters, some with pop. But they just need some power, and then they need some great starting pitching, young starting pitching. Maybe they'll be back. And then Texas, it doesn't seem like they're building too much. You know, you have Joey Gallo, but that's pretty much it. They had a great name pitching staff, but pretty much all those guys are gone except a few. So going through the division, and this is very tough because I'll do it after, I guess, the predictions. But the Astros are managed by Dusty Baker. He's the one that had to come in amongst that cheating scandal with the Astros. And he did pretty well last year. Granted, there were no fans or anything like that, but to take all that responsibility is very tough. I lost some people, but gained some people back to the Astros. They still have Martin Maldonado. He's a great catcher. You got Jason Castro back with the team. You still have Altuve. You still have Bregman. You still have Correa and Gurriel. That's what makes them so dangerous. Now, the outfield took a hit with Springer leaving to Toronto, free agency-wise. But Michael Brantley came back. But Yordan Alvarez will be the DH. And then their pitching probably took a hit without Justin Verlander. So, Framber Valdez will also probably miss the season as well. They got Joe Smith coming out of the bullpen, Ryan Presley. Jake Odorizzi was a good pickup for them starting-wise. And Lance McCullers Jr., Josh James coming out of the bullpen. They still have Zach Greinke. But Pedro Baez left the Dodgers to go to the Astros. He's going to start the season on the IL. Unfortunately for him. The Angels come in kind of retooling their roster despite the money troubles that they're in, trying to do whatever they can really with the roster. Despite that, I think they're looking more toward next year to really go after some pitching, hopefully, if they want to succeed more. It was the first year of Joe Madden managing last year. And a catcher is some young guys, and then Kurt Suzuki came over for experience. But you got Max Stassi and Ben Boom, but he's going to start the season in the minors. There's a Jose Rojas who's did well in the spring, and he could make the team, but we'll see what they do here. In the infield, David Fletcher is a great average hitting second baseman. Really underrated in the league, but I think more people will pay attention to him this season. Jose Iglesias comes over to take over for Simmons. He's a great fielder, and he's a great average hitter. It's something Simmons wasn't. And I think that's an upgrade, and even cheaper. But it's the worth is so much more. Albert Pujols probably playing his last season at first base, DH. Anthony Rendon, who had a pretty good year last year at third base. Luis Refadino at platoon there with giving people days off. Matt Thaiss and Jared Walsh. And Refadino and Thaiss, they will be starting in the alternate training site. So back to Tempe, they'll stay, and they'll get called up if something happens. The outfielders for the Angels. Of course, you know Mike Trout. Right, the best player in the game, but there's others going for that. In center, then you have Justin Upton. He had a pretty good end of the season last year, and he had a great spring this year. The Angels need that bat. And then in right field, you got Dexter Fowler, one of Joe Maddon's old players. He came over from the Cardinals and had a pretty poor spring, especially with fielding. So that kind of bugs me with him. So this will be interesting to see. Like, when do they bring up Joe Odell or Brandon Marsh to play the outfield? And then you get Shohei Ohtani, the only two-way player in the MLB. He could easily be the Angels' ace, but I think they're going to take it cautious because he had the surgery last year. But his pitches are definitely back, but there'll be a chance where they spread him out and not have him pitch every 5 days. Or even have him coming out of the bullpen. You have to see how he produces. And definitely he's a pretty good hitter. Power. He showed it in the spring this year, hitting some over the batter's eye at spring training, which is pretty impressive, I would say. So, you know, he's got to do both, I guess. For the Angels, the main thing in the offseason would to get the pitching better. So they went out, traded for Raisel Iglesias. He will be the closer for now for the Angels. Also in that bullpen, you have Junior Guerrera, Alex Claudio. He has the sidearm delivery. Mike Mayers, Felix Pena, Patrick Sandoval. He's trying to get better there. Ty Buttrey, Jaime Barrera, Luke Bard. For the starters, though, you bring in Alex Cobb, free agency, Dylan Bundy, you keep him around, Griffin Canning, Andrew Heaney, and you also have Otani and Jose Quintana coming over, and they all have to be great in order for them to be good. For the Oakland A's, managed again by Bob Melvin, a playoff team along with the Astros last year. The A's, finally won the division after a while. Really young with their catching core with Sean Murphy. They bring over Elvis Andrews from the Rangers. They still have Matt Chapman, Tony Kemp. Mitch Moreland came over from the Padres as the designated hitter. Matt Olson and Chad Pender. It will be weird to see the A's without Chris Davis, but he went to Texas. In the outfield, Mark Canal, Ramon Laureano, Stephen Piscotty. So it's a pretty good offensive team. I mean, it's a lot of names that people don't know. But for the starters, well, let's go with the bullpen first. The bullpen, Lou Trevino did not fit well as the 7th, 8th, 9th man for the A's. So they went out and got closer Trevor Rosenthal. They also got Sergio Romo, Yasmiro Petit. Their starters, Shane Mania, Frankie Montez, Bert Smith. You got a pretty good starting crew there. And you also got Mike Fiers, Jake Diekman, Chris Bassett. I don't know. They might have the best pitching in the division, I would think. For the Mariners, you got Scott Servais, the manager, but I believe he's on the hot seat, to be honest with you. Their catching crews, Luis Torrens and Tom Murphy. Their infield is J.P. Crawford, Ty France. Those are two young, pretty good players. Dylan Moore is also there. Cal Seager, he's the vet of the Mariners, really. He's probably the oldest Mariner there. Evan White as well. And then you have in the outfield Mitch Haniger, Kyle Lewis, and then Taylor Trammell came over via trade for Austin Nola. And this will be interesting because Taylor Trammell will make his first start in 2021. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes out for the MLB as he makes his debut. They brought back James Paxton. A lot of names you don't really realize, but Justice Sheffield. Kenyon Middleton came over from the Angels for the bullpen. Nick Marvicius, Marco Gonzalez is a pretty solid starter. Kendall Graveman coming over from the A's. Ken Giles came over as well, I believe from the Jays. So they have a pretty good offense, but it's probably the pitching that's going to let them down, and the fact they don't have a real power hitter. The Texas Rangers, managed by Chris Woodworth, definitely had a low season last year. They thought they were going to compete, but they really didn't. Very young with the catching core. In the infield, they have Isaiah Kiner Falefa. Rugnet Odor is still there. One day I'm thinking they'll trade him, but I don't know. Missing. What's funny is just that they don't have Elvis Andrews anymore, so that's kind of odd. Willie Calhoun in the outfield, along with free agent David Dahl coming over from the Rockies. Chris Davis again coming over, probably be the DH. Joey Gallo is their main guy. And for the pitching staff, it's a lot of no names. Jordan Lyles is the lone hangover from that starting five rotation that was supposed to be really good. Cal Gibson, is the other one. They bring in Mike Fulton as well for free agency starters right there. But after that, there's really nothing there for the AL the Texas Rangers. So for me, the West should go. Damn. You would figure the Angels, if they hit right, they could be in first place, and they could get some pitching and maybe make a trade to help their bullpen out. That just maybe they can win the West. So I guess I'll pick the Angels for now. I'll put Houston second. I'll put Oakland third, and Seattle in fourth, and Texas in last. The two wild cards that I see coming out of there should be Houston and man, this is very tough. Houston and I think Minnesota. And then Houston, Minnesota, I would think that the Astros would win that wild card game. And then Houston would play New York and lose to New York. Chicago and the Angels would play each other, and I don't know who would win that. But I think it would probably be the White Sox, but we'll see. The New York and the White Sox will play. You would think the Yankees, if they don't have any injuries, they can make it back to the World Series after a while. So, yeah, I'll probably go with the Yankees for the American League, at least. For the AL. There. So, that's been my preview of the American League. For the MLB. So, we'll see you next on the chair. Going to do the National League preview, but on another video. So, we'll definitely be right there with the National League preview. But this has been the American League preview. So, see you next time on the chair. We'll be right there.